Tell me more about that vetting process, because, the coaching relationship, that's about a third of my time, what I do. The coaching relationship gets really intimate, right? Like, sometimes more about these people and what's going on in their business life than either their business partner or their spouse or whatnot. So what does your vetting process look like now that you're at a higher price? Obviously, you're working with people like, these are big boy decisions. This is not do I hire this sales rep or that sales rep, and maybe we're playing in the margins on the outcome. Some of this stuff is like, do we set up for a 7-figure exit or an 8-figure exit, or an 8-figure exit or a 9-figure exit? I mean, these are big decisions. So what is your vetting process? How are they looking at you, and how are you looking at them?
Yes. And I've got, I want to say, like 3 clients that are kind of setting up for that process right now. And I'm not helping them, not helping them. This is a really good beer. It's brought to you by Copper from Charlotte Mecklenburg Brewery. Really good beer.
Nice.
So the people that we're working with, they may come to me and say, people keep quitting. And how do I stop that? And we might look at the system or the process of which they do the interview, and I help them craft the questions that are aligned with their values and help them do experiential questions on the front end. So it could be part of that, Scott, but really, oh my God, the ADD just kicked in. Ask the question again, because I just forgot.
Vetting process between you and the coaching client.
Okay, super clear. So today I had one of those conversations, for example. I just finished a live stream, which I do Monday through Saturday at 7 a.m. Eastern on my Instagram and my Facebook account, Eternal Optimist Podcast. We'll talk later about that. But I did that this morning, and I get a text at 7:17 a.m. Can you speak today? And it's someone, my second client ever, from 2014. And we worked together until his company got acquired by a couple $1 billion company, and they already had a coach. So he let me go 2 months before COVID. So I haven't talked to him about 3 years, maybe once in 3 years. And texted me up, and I was like, hey, can you talk? And I called him in 18 minutes and 52 seconds. We had a conversation, and we kind of vetted it right there. And I was pretty clear with him. I said, hey, listen, since we last left off 3 years ago, here's kind of what you can expect from me now. My game is higher. I'm coaching people. Nearly everyone I coach is a 7-figure annual person. They're all thinking about bigger things than what we were talking about 3 years ago. And I want you to know up front that I'm not coaching newbies anymore. And I want you to stick me into a room full of brand new, never before sold green advisors, insurance agents. I don't want to work with those people unless they're on the call with you and they're shadowing, watching me coach you, and we're doing it together. I don't want to be in a room with those people. I'm past that. So that was not one thing. Number 2 is that, we used to do it every week. Now I'm better at what I do. So we don't need to do it every single week. We can do it every other week or once a month to still have the same impact or bigger. Number 3 is that I want to ask you some questions first to see if there's been some progress, because I don't want to go back to this, back to where we were then, where people just kept quitting because he was an asshole sometimes, right? So we talked a little bit about his, the way he leads people now. I was satisfied. I've always loved this man. I always cared about him. Just wanted to make sure we're in the right spot. And then I remember the very first coaching conversation and prospect that I ever asked of him in October 2014. My CEO and partner was asking me, ask him for $4,000 a month, Matt. So I asked him for $4,000 a month back in 2014, October. And he said, no way I'm paying that. And then I dropped my pants and said, well, how about $1,000 a month? Will you do that? He's like, yeah. So I dropped down in one step, like my price down to 25%, because I was a really big, scared, wet, sloppy one. So I did that then, but I told them now that if we're going to do this together now, if we're doing one-on-one, it's minimum $50,000 a year. And if your results are one that you go from like a couple $1 million here in earnings to 5 million, I want equity share in that. For every like 25 grand you earn, I want 10% of that that we can trace back to the systems we're putting in place. So now I'm negotiating for equity and bonuses. Before then, it was just like a monthly rate. So I'm talking about all these things before we ever sign anything, before I ever present anything. We're talking about all these things. And here's the thing about being the best coach you can be. And here's my advice to you and anyone listening, Scott, who wants to up their game as a coach. And you're a great salesperson, so you already know this. It's become a heat-seeking missile for pain. Understand their pain more than anything in the whole world. And if you can understand their pain, I know how to solve people's pain by coaching them. Almost everything they can come up with in a business and in a system I've experienced, and I can help them with that. If our values are aligned, number 1, that's the vetting process. Values are aligned. And number 2, if we can understand what it is that's most painful for them, ratchet up that pain so that it is so freaking painful they just can't live. They can't live anymore. They've got to get rid of that pain, and be really good at asking questions that make the pain ratchet up, then in that case, we're ready to go, rock and roll. Before you ever present anything, before I even showed them what I do, they've already experienced it, and they're like, "Wow, that was pretty cool. What actually does coaching look like, Matt?" That's how it goes. So the vetting process is understanding their values, setting expectations. Here's 4 expectations I'll set with every client in the prospect process, and once they're a client, I'll say it again. Things you expect from me: number 1, I'm going to be on time. I'm going to start on time and I'm going to finish on time. Whatever you have a scheduled call, and when I'm there, I'm going to be there. My cell phone's not on. No other computers are on. Kids will run around sometimes. I'll love them and kiss them, and maybe I'll do this. I'll pick Bob Ross out because I've always got a Bob Ross stuffed animal or a Groot always somewhere around me, or a few stuffed animals I can throw at the kids lovingly, not like to peg them like a dodgeball or anything like Adam Sandler and Happy Billy Madison, but more just to lovingly let them be distracted. So on time, number 1, I expect the same from you. Number 2 is confidential. Everything we talk about is between you and I. I'm not going to share it with the outside world. If I'm taking notes on my cloud in GoodNotes 5 app on my iPad, I'm going to code my notes so that if there's anything sensitive you're telling me, if anyone hacked into my notes, they'll see your name. They might see some revenue numbers, but they will never see anything personal or challenging that would expose them or expose me. I'm never going to put anything in email or text or video message that will embarrass you, me, or your company or any of your clients. So that's confidentiality is of the utmost importance to me. Number 2. Number 3 is I'm direct as can be. I'm going to be real, direct, transparent, always with respect. Try to be with empathy. If you need to correct me, then just time me out and say, "Hey, Matt, let's reframe that because it didn't sound right, it didn't feel right." I give you permission to just let me know that it didn't feel right, right? So real-time feedback. And then number 4, in addition to the real-time feedback, we're going to have a feedback conversation every 3 months. If I'm coaching them like weekly or every other week, we're going to have a feedback conversation every 3 months because I want to know how I'm doing, and I want to give you feedback on how you're doing as a client. And by the way, while we're doing this, I'm going to coach them to do the exact same thing with all of their top clients because most people don't have a formal feedback system for their clients. Implement that, and I can teach almost anyone to scale and grow their business through their ideal clients through a feedback system because most don't have it. And those that do have it, it's fly by the seat of your pants. They don't track it. They don't keep track of it over time. They don't know the questions to really, like I call it the what, why, 2-punch combo. Coaching tip for coaches out there. Ask them what's most important, ask them why. Just what, why combo. That why question on the back end shows you want to establish trust. You're going to be vulnerable. You're going to be real. But I like to ask why a whole heck of a lot. And that's the 4 steps of expectations. How does that resonate or sound to you, Scott?
Sounds amazing.
That